Struggling with prop firms? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the break and retest, obviously like we always do. This is my bread and butter strategy for a long time, and today we're going to be speaking about what do we exactly mean by having a 50% win rate, a 70% win rate, and out of 10 trades. I'll just minimize this so you can obviously mouse Corey focus on the charts. So let's suppose you got a 50% win rate, right? When I'm passing these prop firm challenges, I'm showing like a 60% win rate, 40% win rate, 50% win rate, whatever it may be, 70% win rate, whatever it may be, right? And obviously showing these quite high risk rewards that I normally go for. By the way, link in the video description. I'll just quickly get this out of the way. So if anyone is still struggling with trading and all that, and this is obviously in the elite mentorship. This is some of the students, and this is one particular one. Your first trade, he catches at 8.5, and other students just can see, right? And it's just, and this is another student here, another 8.6, and it's about keeping your win rate decent, and obviously still capturing those big moves. This is in the public where anyone can come and check this out. Me catching a 1 to 9 RR trade, and just passing phase 1 in 1 day, in 2 trades only, risking 1% per trade. So, and it's only a small 10k account. Why? Because the message that I always try to get across is start small. Do not buy these 100k, 200k accounts when you don't even have a clear edge. So anyways, coming back to the point. So, by the way, yeah, link will be in the video description, so on, so on. So let's do bloody blah. Let's just get out of the way. Okay, so speaking about 70% win rate, decent win rate, and high risk reward. But what does it actually mean when we say out of 10 trades, out of 100 trades? And this is where people have a lot of confusion, I believe, where they get it wrong, I should say. Suppose I have my edge. I found my edge. Let's say my psychology is on point. I'm not a lunatic, let's just say. Let's say I've got everything knuckled down. Now the last thing that's left, let's say I've got my TP, fixed stop loss. That's what I normally have, for depending on certain trading instruments. I don't target the wick highs and all that kind of stuff. I've collected my data. I know what works. So so now I take my trades. Let's say I'm about to take my next 10 trades. When we say let me bring this up here. So we've got 10 coins, 10 trades. Let's say heads are winners, tails are losses. Let's flip this, right? Over my next 10 trades, right? Let's say heads, let's average, or everyone, especially in the mentorship, I like to go for a 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6. So let's keep it nice, simple, 1 to 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Minus the 4 losses is 20. I walk away with 20% or 10% if I'm risking 0.5% per trade with the prop firms, so on. Okay, but let's just call it walk away with 20%. These heads, these winners, right? And some people get it wrong, I believe. When the data I've collected from backtesting and all that, right? It pretty much will show A grade setups, B grade setups, and C grade setups, right? When people say they have a 50, and these pro like high elite one, top 0.01, like these traders who are being market wizards and all that, when they say they have a 40% win rate, 30% win rate, trust me when I say they mean that they have been, those 10 trades, those 100 trades, they were all A+ setups, elite setups, elite, the best of the best trade setup they could have taken for their strategy, and still they have a 30 to 40% win rate, a 50% win rate. When you hear have a 50% win rate and 1 to 2 risk reward, you'll be profitable. But no one, and then you think I that's what I do, but I still I'm not profitable. You know why? Because you're still adding in those C grade setups, those B grade setups, right? And that's why it goes wrong, right? Your winners might have been just those probably A grade setups, but you've chucked in those other. It's like having diamonds, marble, and just literal normal stones, right? We just obviously usually want to focus on the diamonds, or even at absolute least marbles. By the way, saying that because it's got so many tabs open. I've got 4 monitors and they've all obviously, he's got like probably 30 tabs, so I'll just edit that down and just remind as a reminder. Anyways, go back to the point. So let's work. So how can you make setups A+? right? Let's just work on that. So I'll just move myself out of the way. So we've got gold here, for example, right? Today's a Saturday, obviously markets are closed, but we'll just try to, I'll break this down anyway. So we've got gold, right? And what I like to show is if you just focus on these points, higher lows, lower highs, lower lows, you know, whatever you want to call it, these will still help you enough, right? Let's just mark out some of these zones now. Now, just to be clear, this is not the edge that I personally trade with, but this is definitely the strategy in the beginning that made me profitable, and then obviously certain refinements were made, you know, that helped me along the way. And then because the market's always changing, remember that, always, right? The market's always changing. And there's one over here as well. I mean, there's still a few, but I just don't want to go and draw every single one. You know, pretty much will be here, but obviously we want to focus on to keep your charts clean as possible. I'm just trying to keep just focus on the 2 free zones, right? If price is all the way up here, why am I drawing zones up? I'm just doing it for this purpose of this video, just so that you have an understanding on how you know doing these markups. So what I want to do now, I'll remove these. I don't want any confusion for you guys. Don't want to build any confusion, so we'll remove some of these, or pretty much all of these. Okay, so let's work off why price moved. Now look at this. If I zoom to the left, let's see if there's any okay, let's just drag this and look at that, respected, right? If I drag this even here, look at that, right? Respected. But then obviously this is why I created the zone in the first place, because of this. Now look at this, respected, but then consolidation, right? Consolidation. Eventually what happens, it starts respecting again, and then obviously that's what it eventually works from. Now, what I was speaking about earlier about risk to reward and all that, and also about the win rate and having a high probability win rate, the main focus is that, you know, you trade with the trend. Okay, apologies, I don't know what happened there, it just literally stopped recording. So I'm just gonna move on. So basically, obviously when I marked out trading with the trend, right? So that's so now it's about adding those confluences that will literally make it an A plus or a high quality setup. Now you can add confluences. Number one, the trend. What I like to do, and my students know, I like to add the trend, I like to add volume, and obviously judging on, you know, obviously structure itself, and then that's how you can take, that's how we basically take our positions. And you know, then obviously, you know, I don't use any indicators, you know, to mark on my volume. There's some certain things I look for, and then obviously capitalize on those, and then those things themselves will make it high, better win rate, better risk to reward, and most importantly, you know, my trades hardly ever going to draw down. If they do, and normally if they cross the 50% mark line, that is an ID hint for me, a tip for me, that this trade has a higher chance now of losing. And why? Because data tells me that when I trade with the trend, the market does all the heavy lifting for me. What do I mean by that? If I'm in a bullish market here, right, and obviously I want to be using Euro GBP now for the example, not gold, because I've used gold as a many times. I want to use something disgusting as Euro GBP. What do I mean by that? In terms of, it's got bad spreads, you know, disgusting spreads to say the least. Obviously if you're trading with a prop firm, by the way, I mean, majority when you're trading with personal accounts, all brokers pretty much, they all got decent spreads. But in terms of you know, let's say we're using Euro GBP, right? Let's do the same thing over here. So let's get this tool out here. What do we see? Right, price is making lows, right? This low, well, this one first over, we was a little bit, well, kind of bullish, and then obviously from this point here, this was the last high point until market broke this low here, right? Higher low, you know, whatever you want to call this. It broke this structure point, and then price over here, these two levels failed to break the high over here. So clear now indication that we are going lower, and price continues to break the lows until over here, you know, price fails to break the low. You should start taking things into consideration. But does that mean you will take your buy? No, right? Why? Because there's still a few things need to happen, right? Me personally, you want a little bit of a trend to start. We do have a little bit of we could start taking into consideration that price could shift from here, but actually has it shifted? Remember, we don't trade on the basis of what might happen, trade on the basis of what you're actually seeing, right? So if I just bring out this tool, these were the previous high points until price respects, breaks through, and even at this stage, look at this, you could have just taken a buy from this zone and let price just do its thing after that. It's super simple, very, very simple, right? Now let me just show you what I was speaking about earlier. Do you remember when I said, because if I'm trading with the trend, price will hardly go into drawdowns? Do you remember that? So look at this. Price obviously is respecting this as a resistance, comes down, breaks through. Let's go on a small time frame. Let's just clone this one and we'll put it over here. Because I'm not just going to take my trade, off a breakout. No, you want price to come down to a smaller time frame. You want to see some rejections. You want to see some levels being respected. Things like that, so on, so on. Let's mark out this level as well. Let's change the color to something that you can understand and see better. Now, why have I drawn this? There are zones within zones, just the way there are trends within trends. I'll move myself off the screen so you can focus better on the charts. So respected breakout, respected multiple times. Then obviously you could take your buy off this long wick rejection. There's two long wick rejections. Even when the bearish candle forms, it's a very, very weak bearish candle. Why? Huge wick at the bottom. If this huge wick was at the top, then it's a very strong bearish candle. But still, it has no value in my eyes, because when a super strong bearish candle forms on top of a support level, in my eyes, it does not mean anything. So what happens? You can just take your buy, and that's a nice 1 to 4.6. Call it. Remember, it's got terrible spreads, so ideally I think this will pretty much get you like maybe a 1 to 4, but still, the same concept. It is very, very simple though, very, very simple. Now let's look at some other. Okay, so this became why did it become a good quality setup, right? Remember, we might focusing on the 10 setups, 10 trades, 10 coins. But I believe this tool allows me to even bring in 100 coins. So let's just say, and that's at the end of the day, trading is all random. Sorry, game of probabilities. It is random, but it's a game of probabilities ultimately, right? So let's say again, heads are the winners. Let's see what happens. So 46 and 54 losses. 46 winners and 54 losses. Now, do you understand how many times you gotta focus on your best quality setups? But still, this is a very, very powerful because even if you had like a let's say 46 times 2, right, which would be 92, and then obviously take away the 54, see, still profitable if you did it. But if you went for a typical 46 times 4, it would be 184, take away the 54, then you still got a very nice profitable system, like 130% at the end of all this, 130 RR at the end of 100 trades. It's very powerful. But if you're focusing on, remember, imagine you could end up near this is obviously I would say like pretty much almost a 50-50 win rate, almost it's actually a little under 50% win rate, but just about, but overall, if you had like a 60% win rate, 70% win rate, it's crazy results. It would be crazy. Now look at this. Market goes hardly into drawdown. What do I do normally? If it goes a little bit 50%, I'll just cut my losses in half. Super simple. So now the 1 to 4, if I do go for it, it's like serves as a 1 to 8 risk reward. Because if I'm risking 1,000, I'm only losing 500. But if I'm catching the trade, I'm gaining 4,000. That's 500 loss, 4,000 win. That is a 1 to 8 risk reward. Why is it so powerful? I'm traveling less. Normally, if I need a 1 to 8 risk reward, I would have to travel all this distance. I'm only traveling half the distance, right? These are the kind of little tips and tricks you got to use to stay ahead of the game. Your edge Obviously, of course, you gotta have an edge, but psychology is not your everything, right? The way you manage this area, from my own personal experience, the way you manage your stop loss area is everything. The way you manage your, obviously, having the correct TP. You don't want to have a 1 to 2 risk to reward, but market every time flies to a 1 to 4. You're leaving money on the table. You don't want to have a 1 to 7 risk to reward, but majority of the time you get market showing a 1 to 4 risk to reward. You want to find the sweet spot, and finding answering these kind of questions. That's only going to come through backtesting, having that data. Now, backtesting isn't everything as well. I want to be super clear. It is and it isn't, right? Because it's missing a very, very important element: emotions, right? Demo accounts. That's why I don't like. They are helpful, but I would, if I've got any ideas and all that, I'll go and practice on a 10k account, 25k account, 50k account. I don't care if I blow the account. Why? I'm just testing a few things, because then I know my emotions are involved. And what I've come to realize over the years, and take this seriously when I say this, if your backtesting data is showing you promising results, but whenever you come to the charts and into the live markets you're losing money, that's not good. Scrap the idea, scrap the strategy, scrap the edge. It's not an edge. What I've seen from personal experience, the real strategies that have an edge, that show promising good data in backtesting, they tend to work off straight away within the first 3-4 trades. From my own personal experience, I've seen that single-handedly, right? There are some students now in the Discord, they're catching trades, hitting gains they've never had before, and the speed now they're progressing is crazy. It's crazy. More power to them. But yeah, I want to leave it as this, because I just want to focus on that. There's a huge misconception that the next 10 trades, make sure they're your best 10 trades, right? Your next 50 trades, make sure they're your absolute best 50 trades, right? And also another thing I was going to mention as well, focus on, rather than always focusing on why you lost the trade, focus on why you're winning the trade. You want to know where you went right and why you're going right and how you're going right. Write those down. If you don't see that setup, or you don't see that particular, that formation happening, or that setup happening, the candlesticks forming in a certain way and all that, don't take the trade. Waiting, patience is also a part of trading. If you're waiting, just because if a tiger is stalking its prey, hiding in the grass, and he's just staring at its prey, like a gazelle or a deer or whatever creature is hunting, right? Just because they sat there waiting and stalking its prey, staring at it, does that mean it's not hunting? No, it is. It's a part of its hunt. So that's what we're basically doing, right? Waiting is also trading. Tell yourself that. Waiting is also trading. I hope you found value from this. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, comment, share. And if you're still struggling with trading, link will be in the video description. Just give me a message, and we'll take from. I don't work with every single one. I am super picky who I work with. I don't work with beginners as well. So yeah, take care, and I'm out.